Okay, so we're back. I don't want to make this too much longer. I just want to get to the point. But before we go on to, I almost just forgot again. Just want to say again, this amounts to egregious negligence on the part of the city, the region, and other parties, especially being that it's currently 87 days past due for this order. The other thing too is that when we went to landlord-tenant board, and throughout this whole process, again, we've been looking for human rights help through Accessibility Ontarians with Disabilities Act. This is originally reported and requested through Accessibility Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and that was ignored. We talked to Kristen actually the first time, and that actually turns out to be Kristen is the same one that gave the notice to the landlord, Kristen Vandergeld, I believe her name is. I'm going to try and track down that phone call too. We could probably post that as well. But the thing is that at every level of government, and again, Karen Redmond, any of you people step forward and please provide who this person is who's supposed to allow this accessibility facilitation, not just sitting and argumentative and get somebody angry, and then when they get frustrated and respond the way that they would as a human being in such a situation. Oftentimes abusing their disability or even any kind of abuse, even if you're not disabled, it doesn't matter, it's still abuse, and especially abuse of power. But we went to the landlord-tenant board. We had a hearing on August 28th. We tried to get assistance to do it properly, the same as we did the last time. Last time I hired a lawyer, Michael Ferguson, in order to do accommodation and to present the case, and he sabotaged it. That led to me going to the courthouse in 2015 seeking help. I was invited by somebody who's a disability coordinator, and when I went down there, they assaulted me. This happened on more than one occasion. It happened CCAC as well when we tried to deal with the ongoing situation there, and exactly the same thing happened. That's why this time, with the phone call with Shamir Maida, when he's saying, well, come on down to the Waterloo City Hall, we'll do a meeting here. That's why we went, no, I don't think we're going to do that again. And again, there was no hostility or anything, but again, what happens is right after I'm done doing this enforcement part, there's only 5 pages left. It's very important. I'm going to put on the initial phone call that I made to Henry with the building standards people, and it was quite a pleasant phone call, as you'll hear. He's the one who referred me to the fire department, because again, we had asked, because there was a letter that was sent. Just to go through this real quick. There was a letter that was sent to us because he was found out, I believe it was, well, what was the date of the letter? I got it right here. December 18th, right? Okay, so December 19th. Again, December 19th at the top, you can see. And then at the bottom, it's Kristen Vandergeld, Licensing and Standards Officer. That's the same one that we originally talked to. I believe it was April or May. Oh, it would have been April or something, I think. Anyway, I'll find it. That was, so he was notified December 19th, and because of that letter, he sent out this letter. Sorry. He sent out this letter of notification. Okay. It says page 6 of 6 because it was part of an exhibit that was given to the landlord-tenant, showing this is part of a letter that I wrote on May 13th, just after we found out. As you can see, notice letter to landlord exhibit number 1, SWL 32448-19, Wednesday, August 28th, 2019, 10 a.m. So this was given as, this is a letter that I wrote to Theo and Eugene Papadopoulos, care of Commissions Worldwide, which was sent by courier. Because I didn't know, I thought Commissions Worldwide was a client of theirs because of Kupel Marcoux card and all that. And it turned out that that's not what it was. So anyway, this was sent by courier Monday, May 13th, and we gave a copy. We waited a week and a half or something before we gave this to the property standards. And as you can see, again, this is posted somewhere. It shows all the infractions. This is just from, sorry, there's a shadow there. This is just from what we put down, and this is what they, if you look at this in the document, this is the only stuff they looked at. And again, we quoted the actual legislation, and we told them how we thought this was supposed to work based on the legislation. The other thing too is that it says here, right in regarding further apparent non-compliance and violations of City of Waterloo rental license bylaw identified as bylaw 2011047, section 4, subsection 4.1, identified as the direct quote, the director shall issue or renew a license to carry on a residential rental business to any person who meets the requirements of this bylaw, except where D, the rental unit itself, the building in which the rental unit is situated, or the property on which the rental unit is situated is not in compliance with a zoning bylaw, such as the property standards bylaw, such as the residential rental license bylaw, and current deficiencies identified with regard to and including bylaw 201-122. And then there is everything that we said. Okay, and I mentioned the fence because even though it was 98B's property, because it's still not to code. Anyway, so he gave this letter of notice because he had to get the rental licenses. So this was January 31st is when he signed the application, which is right here. Sorry. That's the application, again, given as Exhibit 8. We give it fully documented and supported evidence to the Landlord-Tenant Board. January 31st, 2019 is when he signed this document, and again, saying that all these things are true. I hereby certify that we are complying to the above noted property is in compliance with the Building Code Act 1992 or any regulations made under it, including the Building Code. The above noted property is in compliance with the Fire Protection and Prevention Act 97 or any regulations made under it, including the Fire Code. The above noted property is in compliance with the Electricity Act, Standard Ordinance 1998, Chapter 15, Schedule A as amended, or any regulations made under it, including the Electrical Safety Code, and the applicants and registered owners, if different from the applicants, and any local contacts are aware of all relevant federal and provincial legislation as well as all relevant municipal bylaws, and that they and the above noted property will comply with all of them, and that the applicants and registered owners confirm the accuracy, truthfulness, and completeness of the information submitted. Signed by Theo Papadopoulos, January 31st. The bylaw specifically states no person, and that includes Shane Turner, and the city shall provide false or misleading information. Anyway, back to this. So because he got caught, this led to this letter being sent out where he put attention tenants of 100A, 100B, 98A, and 98B Marshall Street, Waterloo, Ontario. So he's the one who notified, because he put all those 4 addresses there, he told everybody that that's the 4 addresses he applied for, and that is actually a fact. This is to inform you that the City of Waterloo has informed us that we require a rental license for the above residents. In order for us to complete the application, there is some must inspections to be completed. Number 1, gas furnace appliance inspection, which was done. Number 2, electrical inspection, which was done. Number 3, fire and safety, which was not done yet. Gas inspection is booked for Wednesday, January the 9th, between 2 and 4. We need access to the house between those hours, which we did. So there you go. It was completed Wednesday, January 9th for the gas inspection. All other inspections will be booked and notify you well in advance to give us access. Landlord Theo Papadopoulos, 519-569-1905. So again, the furnace was done on January 9th. Electrical inspection was done. I forget what date that was, but they came and did it. So the only thing left to do is the fire and safety. So we were under the assumption that that was what was happening, which is why then we found out that the carbon monoxide detectors seemed to be improperly installed. And again, I know this because we had to do installations of them in the co-op complex that I was president of for over a year. And every carbon monoxide detector that we had ever installed, and it said that it had to be below 3 feet or 3.5 or 4 feet from the floor. because again, I would assume that that's bed height level, and if the gas is already up over the bed, you're probably dead. So the idea is to catch it just before it gets to bed level, so you can stand up and walk out of the house. The fire department goes ahead and says, yeah, there may be new ones these days that you could have higher. But as far as I know, the kitty, like the ones that were installed, are actually supposed to be lower towards the floor on each floor. The funny thing is, though, when you look at the video of what they did when they went into 98B to correct the no fire alarm thing, and they also put in CO2 detectors, they installed them closer to the floor. Now, maybe they did that because I noticed when I was looking back at the video, I did catch part of the wall going down to show it wasn't there very quickly if you freeze on it for the one in the hallway downstairs. But basically, we only shot up above, so we didn't go down to floor level, so they could technically argue that, well, they were there all the time. Of course they weren't. Anyway, let them argue what they want, because the fact of the matter is they say it was supposed to be fire code when he signed that paper. When he filled out the application, it was supposed to be fire code when they gave him the rental license, because again, a rental license is a certificate of, or what do they call it? It's to certify that it's to code. Anyway, so I don't want to get too much on that, but again, we ask for assistance as persons with disabilities, and because of the nature again of what we're bringing forward, that's where you get the resistance. And also, again, this is not hearsay, because I can press play, which I just did. You can hear the phone calls for yourself, and we're about to put up 3 more. They're shorter ones, but it's going to lead up. It's basically the first contact leading up to the first physical contact with these people. You can see how they came out adversarially and wanted to make us look. Because again, the only time they bring officers and stuff like that is when you are not allowing them access. And we invited them into our home. We invited them to the property. We were the ones who brought this forward, and they were able to turn the narrative around to say that we are the ones who are preventing them from doing it, including the city from coming out here and doing it in spite of the landlord, now that it's overdue. So we're just standing in our own way, and we need to go because we're the problem, right? Anyway, human rights, so we go to the landlord-tenant board hearing, and they did not have anybody there to do liaise. When I first got there, the person who was asking us to sign up, which was the guard, was improperly trained. He asked me to write something down. I went to write it down. I guess I wasn't going fast enough for him, so he kept on trying to, well, just write it down. I'm going, just give me a minute, please. I'm disabled. I need a second. And just as I'm about to write on the paper, he kept badgering me. Again, that's exactly the same tactic as everywhere else. It's like, I just need I said, excuse me, have you been trained? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, do me a favor, dig down your training. I just need a second. I am asking you to cooperate with me. Please cooperate and allow me to do this. And there's a whole lineup of people behind me. And he kept doing the same thing. And it antagonized again because it's PTSD. Whether it was through his fault or not, it doesn't matter, because he's improperly trained and they're not doing it right. So I get vexed and I get inside of there. And when we go to talk to duty council, do you have anybody we could talk, like who's here for disability? No. You don't need that. You're either going to talk to me or not. I don't have time for this kind of thing. And we're like, excuse me. And no accommodation. So we wait to talk to the woman, and she sits there and goes, well, and we asked her, well, who's the person for accommodation? They go, nobody. They had nobody there. It's like our way or the highway. We had tried to go through the system, and again, where do you go? Doug Ford shut everything down. Every time we call on the helpline, they just go, we don't do that, and hang up, because it's frustrating and they don't know what to do about it. So we just don't get the representation, and they blame us, right? This is not about blame. This is about responsibility. It's not about who's to blame for how it got to where it is with this property. It's about the responsibility of, you're supposed to step up and do what is required. It's a standard thing. 1 or 2 inspectors, checklist, here's what's right, here's what's not, fix it, it's registered as fixed, there's the standard, that's where you must maintain it. That's called leadership, that's called proper use of taxpayers' money, that's called an implementation and enforcement of the law. You don't sit there because of the many problems of it. Sit there and just go, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to apply it. We're just going to ignore it. Because that's what you call repealing. You're not allowed to disrupt our lives and use us as a tool in your little game or whatever you're playing. Our lives have been disrupted for over 4 months. This time. Notwithstanding. Anyway, we went there and they said that we were going to have an oral presentation. We presented for over 3 hours because we had breaks too. It was just under 3 hours in the actual recording. Then we were threatened with police. I was at the end of my rope. We had kept, all 3 of us are disabled to a point. Denise is disabled. She's on ODSP. I'm disabled because of my workplace accident and brain injury and stuff and PTSD and other problems. To be poked with a stick all the time because they just don't want to do anything and because of the content of what we're bringing. I'm sorry. It's the truth. And you're starting to see it now. The beauty of it is this. They made a mistake in their arrogance. We have documented evidence across several aspects of so-called security of person where there's anything but. And I could press play. You can hear out of their words, like here, how they are not doing what they say. How tribunals are there to cover for the Crown and mistakes, how they just run roughshod over anybody's rights, and it's a stopgap measure that's usually a wedge issue that they soak both sides of while never having to show that they're doing anything they're required to do. Mayor Jaworski, Regional Rep Jaworski, you have a lot of explaining to do, and I'm standing right here. Where are you standing, sir? Actually, I don't call you sir. You notice how they have to put honorable on the card because it has nothing to do with their character? Very little to. There's very few people with that name on their placeholder on their card that are actually honorable. Anyway, over 3 hours, it was fully supported and documented with Municipal Freedom of Information Protection Privacy Act release. A lot of the stuff we're showing here, the act itself speaks for itself. All of these factions, including landlord-tenant, is part of the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Oh my God, they even call it Municipal Affairs and Housing. Amalgamation, service sharing agreement, regardless of who is responsible for the bottom line, all of us are. Province has to toe the line, region has to toe the line, city has to toe the line, everybody in the province has to. Especially landlords and owners. They created a whole industry out of people who can't help themselves, and because the whole legal system is a stopgap measure to send you right back into the doldrums of soak you, bleed you dry until you got nothing left. Anyway, our issues have been dismissed, notwithstanding. We have been evicted when it says you're not allowed to evict in this situation, but hey, we got no representation. So the way it's happening right now is as of October 5th or 6th, he was able to go to the sheriff, so he probably did. We contacted the sheriff sends a letter, and you've got either 16 days or 21 days from the point that they got the writ. Then the sheriff shows up at your door, and they lock the door, and you've got 3 days to get your stuff out if you're not out by then. And again, then the landlord, we got our lease broken, even though we did everything we were required to. We lose our tenancy at $1,200 a month plus utilities for this place. We get cast out onto the street. Our credit rating gets totally destroyed. It's a death sentence for me because, first of all, I'm disabled. The last time they did this to us up the street for the same reasons and the same manner, which says that's pattern of behavior, and the fact is they're not enforcing anything. But the last time I had to do that, I almost died from just trying to move the equipment myself, like everything myself. It took us a month and a half to move in here, and it took me like weeks to recover. We got to put our stuff in storage. Our credit rating's damaged. If I don't have a place to live, then I guess they think that keeps me from putting stuff on YouTube. It's definitely going to keep me busy from doing anything like this, reporting on it, I guess. We got to look for a place to live and not freeze to death and all that stuff. But we get to go reach out to all these services, right? Anyway, that's why, no, I'm not doing that. I am standing right here. Like I said, I will not allow them to take any of our stuff, so we will be moving the stuff into storage. But when the day comes, I'm going to get that sheriff's notice. I'm going to announce the date of my death. It's either this stops or I stand right here and I will not give up vacant possession, and this time they're going to have to put 3 in my chest. I am finished being treated like a meat puppet. You are despicable and you have no right to do this, and I am not going any further. So I'm hoping the public reaches out and says this is wrong and demands that, number one, that every one of these properties gets a full inspection. That the landlord, tenant, and government cease immediately any action of eviction against us until this has been determined. And because, again, our claim is this. What is your definition of unlawful? Unlawful means you're not allowed to do it. We paid unlawful rent for over 2 years in a situation that he controlled totally. Landlord who is a real estate agent registered with a real estate deal, and questions now become, why didn't they just come clean there was a rental license? Why did they play all this stuff the way they did? Because they got caught. That's why. Listen to the tape. Anyway, this is about responsibility, not about blame. You know, we need enforcement. All levels of government are responsible: provincial, regional, and city. The Act clearly says if it's not specifically specified in that Act, it's a landlord's responsibility, and that's clear. That's from 2011122, which is the one that they charged them under because they didn't do anything under 2011047, which is residential rental license, because they don't want to tarnish it, I guess. Anyway, that's our take. So I'm almost done on this one too. I'm gonna finish off the last 5 pages because this is important. So let's do this real quick. And thank you. I appreciate your patience. I hope you're still with us. Again, we're doing this for public service. It's about public safety. It's about the proper administration of justice. It's about human rights and not allowing them to persecute you because they're not doing the job. Anyway, and this is happening everywhere. I mean, ask a politician. The only thing you need to ask them, excuse me, what's your definition of the word all? We're all equal. There's no class, like, we're all equal, but there's middle class, there's lower class, there's upper class. That doesn't sound equal to me. And all, how about all when it comes to health care? It's all of the person, not little pieces there and there, like a little bit of autism here and a little bit of mental health issues there, and gee, got heart over there, and they part you out because they make more money off you. It's called whole person medicine. It's the whole person. So whether you're a police officer, firefighter, a person on the job who got hurt on the job, if you're doing whole person medicine or autism or OCD or whatever else you want to call it, if you're doing all the person, whole person care, what's the problem? It's because they make more money off of parting it out and divide and conquer. What about education? All. What? How about employment? All. What does the word mean? Does that mean men and women? All means all, doesn't it? It's a simple concept, and yet they always have trouble with it. And it's the Queen's English, so get with the program. I can't afford this torture anymore. And Trudeau, you know, I made a video in 2015 inviting you to raise awareness of the abuse of disability in Canadians by getting in the boxing ring with me and let's do it for charity, right? Well, you know, we didn't get to go in the boxing ring, but you certainly have raised awareness of disability fucking abuse, excuse my French, disability abuse in Canada. You and your cronies. Read the Pledge of Allegiance they signed. It is not to the people, it is to the Crown. The Law Society of Upper Canada is the basis for all law in Ontario and Canada. It comes from Upper Canada, which was a colonialist society, and if you want to hear anything about promises of the Crown and whether or not they're worth anything, talk to anybody who is native to this land that they helped steal it from. Because if crime doesn't pay, then you need to take every crown and everything you've ever stolen off of your head, off of your fingers, out of your possession, and hand it back to the people you took them from over the centuries. There's only one way to deal with this, notwithstanding. I am asking not only for what I've asked for here, but I am asking everybody who is voting. You don't spoil your vote. You sit there and you say, I defer my vote, or whatever it's called, and I want you to mark the words notwithstanding on the ballot. Not none of the above. Notwithstanding. And I'm reaching out to the parents who are now going through this autism thing. You're starting to find out. You go and hire lawyers, that's fine. They're going to bleed you dry of your money. You're not going to get anywhere because their hands are tied. They are trained and sworn allegiance to the Law Society of Upper Canada, and their hands are tied. That's why Bo Baker's mother, who is the one who got murdered about a month before they did what they did to me at the courthouse, because it was taking a little bit too long, I guess. They're supposed to have an intervention team. But the person who ended up shooting Bo Baker's mother hired Davin Charney, last time I heard, who's supposed to be, he was touted as one of the best human rights lawyers, and if you're getting screwed over by the system, he's the guy you want to get crap. We even chased him down and stuff. Full of crap, because here he is, she's been having him since what, 2016 or 2017? She still doesn't know the name of the person who killed her son. You know, that's because they don't want you talking to them. And that officer was put in danger as well, in harm's way, because they are not following their own rules and their own law. Well, that's going to be next, because again, they control the narrative. They turn the victim into, they criminalize the victim every time, because, hey, who's going to listen to that person, right? Anyway. What's going to happen after this? I'm going to finish these last 5 pages, but what's going to happen after that is I'll bump it, I'll do a break. And then there's a little short video, only 2 or 3 minutes, that Denise did showing the mold on the seats, and that before she to show that it's spread, and that Karen Redmond doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, but she's not scientifically qualified anyway, and nobody came here and did any testing, and I defy you to prove that they did. Nobody even attended the prod. And yet, I don't see anywhere in any of these bylaws where it says, oh, well, the tenant, if they don't want you to come see it, then you don't have to. And if it's the neighbors, well, it's neighbors and it's outside. You know, that's okay. It's in the air. Really, Karen? You know, if you're having trouble with the job, just leave your resignation on the desk and don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. And that goes for every last one of you, especially you, Brian Larkin. You're a disgrace to the force because you swear to protect the community. You swear to uphold and protect your officers, and you do neither. You put us in danger, you refuse to do proper training, and you're asking for extra overtime because you're sending extra officers over here as an intimidation tool with no liaise. You are despicable. One of those despicable people they've been talking about. Same with Shane Turner. The reign of terror that Shane Turner is responsible has to end. And by the way, Steve Ross, who is the legal representative and solicitor for the City of Waterloo, Corporation of the City of Waterloo, you need to pack your bags, because I'm going after your license. I think we should all be going after his license, because he's the one who's directing this. One of the lawyers on behalf of the City of Waterloo and the region. So openly challenging Jaworski, Redmond, anybody, come forward and explain yourself, will you? Anyway, we're done with that. So it'll be a short video of that, and then I'm going to have, I think I'm going to break it up after that because this one's pretty long. I'm going to do, the next video will be the actual phone calls that led up to the first inspection, fire inspection, and then the entire first fire inspection, where again you'll see that they were clueless. What we suspect happened is that the last landlord did what most landlords do, which is got Becker Fire or somebody like that in here to do an advisory. They did an assessment, they fulfilled the assessment, and that was good enough. And that was overkill because, again, he had multiple tenants in here. Somebody was down in the basement. He had emergency stair lighting and stuff, so he did the overkill thing. He had mega, again, we were good with that, especially after we came out of the last place. We'll be posting those videos later too, because that's part of a pattern of behavior. Municipality covering for these landlords. That one was a real estate agent as well. Proffered a unit as lawful, found out after a year and a bit living there it was anything but. And when it started coming down, it the same thing. Police used as intimidation. They protected the landlord. They broke our commercial lease. All the video there too. And again, assault. Out and out assault. No training of the officers, nothing but and also when I went to protest about it on King Street, they actually paid 3 officers to sit, because I'm at Speaker's Quarters on Frederick and King, and at this Krabby Joe's, right? Used to be the TD Bank, Krabby Joe's parking lot. There's an SUV, Waterloo Regional Police SUV there with no less than 3 officers set up with cameras to videotape my protesting. So 3 officers sat there for as long as I did, and I'm pretty sure they exchanged shifts too, right in the open. Because I got video, I didn't videotape the whole thing, but I got video of them doing it. And I've got a right to protest, but again, I am a serious threat to them because just like in court, I can press play. It's on record. It's not hearsay. It's transcribed. Bring them in and let's question them on exactly what happened here. Anyway, so let's get back to this. So after that, real quick, so it's going to be the audio recordings and then the actual video. Then after that, I'm going to do an introduce myself video. I'm going to introduce you to who I am character-wise and what I was in this community before they tore me down, spat me up and threw me out, which they're about to do again, because again, the whole point is to just getting the message home to me that it doesn't matter what I do, I'm not going to get anywhere. And they've controlled the narrative, and like I said, I'm the criminal. And I'm the crazy person, and I'm the one who they're going to justify putting 2 or 3 in my chest because that's what they're doing. They are setting it up that they can do whatever the hell they want when they want, because they already have. And I'll be making a video to show that too, and we will be putting together a kaleidoscope of these interactions because I've got them over years. And you can be the judge for yourself. Anyway, I only expect that I'm going to have, well, they said 16 to 21 days from the time they receive it, so that would be the 23rd to 28th. Between that time, if nothing's done to stop this, I imagine one of those dates will be the date I'll be announcing, come on down and watch them do it, because I'm not going anywhere. I am standing right here. I'm done. Anyway, back to this real quick, and thank you for your patience. Gee, it's been 33 minutes of my battling. Just want to be clear on what's going on here, because this is ridiculous. Okay, so this is the most important part, though, which is enforcement. And I want to start with, because again, Allison Hensall and Shamir Beta and everybody kept on going, there's a problem here with powers of entry. So Part 13 enforcement starts with 13.1 powers of entry. 13.1.1a property standards officer may, upon producing proper identification, enter upon any property at any reasonable time without warrant for the purpose of inspecting the property to determine A, whether the property conforms with the standards prescribed in this bylaw, or B, whether an order made under this act has been complied with. 13.1.2 for the purposes of an inspection and in accordance with Section 15A of the Act, a property standards officer may A, require the production or inspection of documents or things, including drawings or specifications that may be relevant to the property or any part thereof. B, inspect and remove documents or things relevant to the property or part thereof for the purpose of making copies or extracts. C, require information from any person concerning a matter related to a property or part thereof. D, be accompanied by a person who has a special or expert knowledge in relation to a property or a part thereof, such as a scientific person who could do testing of the mold. And again, whether it's testing of the mold or not, it says specifically there's supposed to be protective covering, which is preventing the mold in the first place. So either way, you're done. Okay, so E, a loaner in conjunction with a person possessing special expert knowledge make examinations or take tests, samples, or photographs necessary for the purposes of the inspection. And F, order the owner of the property to take and supply at the owner's expense such tests and samples as are specified in the order. 13.1.3, the city may charge the owner of a property a fee or charge pursuant to the city's fees and charges bylaw to conduct an inspection, including increased fees for multiple inspections. So how many inspections took place here? Is he being charged the fees? Again, this is the bylaw 2011-122, which is the property law which he was actually found. That's the order is under. So here we are, 13.2, orders. 13.2.1a, or sorry, 13.2.1. A property standards officer who finds that a property does not conform with any of the standards prescribed in this bylaw may make an order. A, stating the municipal address or legal description of the property. B, giving reasonable particulars of the repairs to be made or stating that the site is to be cleared of all building structures, debris, or refuse and left in a graded and level condition, which they did not do. They did give them the reasonable particulars of the repairs. C, indicating the time for complying with the terms and conditions of the order and giving notice that if the repair or clearance is not carried out within that time, the municipality may carry out the repair or clearance at the owner's expense, which has been done. And D, indicating the final date for giving notice of appeal from the order, which they did. That was 14 days from the time he got it. From my understanding, we were never notified that there was any kind of appeal. Why would he have to appeal? I mean, what was it? June 13th, they did the order. June 19th, 6 days later, they gave him his license. Certificate of, what do we call that? Anyway, it's coming up again, so we'll be able to tell you. Certificate of authenticity, of compliance, sorry. Certificate of compliance. That's what a residential rental license is. So, 13.2.2, an order shall be served on the owner of the property and such other persons affected by it as a property standard officer determines, and a copy of the order may be posted on the property. So in other words, they served him with the order, they gave us a copy of it because we were affected by it. Okay, this is the part here where it says that it can be registered. So 13.2.3, an order may be registered in the proper land registry office, and upon such registration, any person acquiring any interest in the land subsequent to the registration of the order shall be deemed to have been served with the order on the day on which the order was served, and when the requirements of the order have been satisfied, the clerk of the city shall forthwith register in the proper land registry office a certificate that such requirements have been satisfied, which shall operate as a discharge of the order. So it does not say that I must do it. It says an order may be registered, and we are asking that it be done. The reason why they haven't done it is because of the land deal. Again, go to the description part of the page for, I forget which one it's called. It's the one about proof, just before the, I'm getting tired again. Anyway, on the page there's a link to the actual recording of Theo Papadopoulos admitting that that they're developing the site. Anyway, you want to read it. 13.3 appeals. 13.3.1 an owner occupant who has been served with an order may appeal the order to the committee hereunder defined by sending a notice of appeal by registered mail to the secretary of the committee within 14 days after being served with the order along with the applicable fee. So again, it says owner or occupant. So they told us only the owner could do it, because we would have went and appealed it and said, excuse me, it doesn't go far enough, and we would be able to raise the issue there. But again, it's improper information, no leadership, no accountability for informing the public properly. And also no proper application of the actual bylaw or its mandate. 13.3.2 an order that is not appealed within the time referred to in section 13.3.1 shall be deemed to be confirmed. So again, if he did not appeal it, then it's confirmed as well. 13.3.3 the committee shall hear the appeal. 13.3.4 on appeal, the committee has all the powers and functions of the property standards officer who made the order, and the committee may do any of the following things if, in the committee's opinion, doing so would maintain General intent and purpose of the bylaw and of the official plan or policy statement. And again, general intent and purpose of the bylaw states that it is to protect tenant rights and human rights. So, A, confirm, modify, or rescind the order to demolish or repair, or B, extend the time for complying with the order. 13.4, failure to comply with an order. 13.4.1. If an order is not complied with, the city may cause the property to be repaired, cleaned, cleared up, or demolished, as the case may be. 13.4.2, for the purpose of section 13.4.1 of this bylaw, employees or agents of the city may enter the property at any reasonable time without warrant in order to repair, clean, clear, or demolish the property. 13.4.3, the city or person acting on its behalf is not liable to compensate the owner, occupant, or any other person by reason of anything done by or on behalf of the city in the reasonable exercise of its powers under section 13.4.2 of this bylaw. Reasonable exercise. They have not made any attempt to fix anything or have him fix anything. 13.4.4, the city shall have a lien on the land for the amount spent on the repair, cleaning, clearing, or demolition under section 13.4.1 of this bylaw, and the amount shall have priority lien status as described in section 1 of the Municipal Act 2001. Now, again, they have the total power to make this right because that's what's supposed to happen. It is about safety and security, of which we've had none. And they're actually playing with. Here is Certificate of Compliance, 13.5. Now, this is, again, I feel this describes exactly what a residential rental license represents. A Certificate of Compliance. And that is what they sell it to the public as, a certificate of compliance. If you see this residential rental license in this unit, it meets the, well, they say it guarantees a fire inspection. You watch the fire inspection that took place here, the physical fire inspection. Look at the results. It failed the fire inspection here. He did not even get a consultation. He obviously did not get a consultation in 98D. Because it failed too, and again, they were granted a residential license, whether it be February 11th or June 19th, or even today. It was never inspected. That is clear. So anyway, 13.5, Certificate of Compliance. 13.5.1, a property standards officer who, after inspecting a property, is of the opinion that the property is in compliance with the standards established by this bylaw, may issue a certificate of compliance to an owner who requests one and who pays the applicable fee. So that is Allison Hensall, that is Shamir Maida, that is Shane Turner, and that proves that the residential rental license is a certificate of compliance, the equivalent. 13.6, enforcement. 13.6.1, this bylaw may be enforced by a property standards officer. Now here comes the important part. 13.7, offenses and penalties. And this is supposed to be on behalf of all taxpayers of Waterloo region, the city of Waterloo, and in order to preserve tenants' rights and protect tenants and human rights. And it's to be a deterrent against anybody who abuses their situation. So offenses and penalties is very important. And this is for section 2011-122, which is a property standards bylaw. So it doesn't even mention the residential rental license. 13 points, and this is the one that they found him in violation of. 13.71, every person, and again a person includes the city and corporation of Waterloo, includes Shane Turner, includes Shamir Maida, includes Allison Hensall, includes commissions worldwide, includes the regional municipality of Waterloo, includes the province, includes the damn prime minister, includes the crown, because the crown is bound, including through AOTA.
So anyway, every person who contravenes any of the provisions of this bylaw is guilty of an offense and pursuant to Section 429 of the Municipal Act, and all contraventions of this bylaw are designated as continuing offenses. Which means every single one is compounded on each other. So every time they came here and again, Shane Turner, Shamir Maida, Allison Hensall, all contributed false and misleading information to this file, to this whole investigation. They are persons, and no person is allowed to give false or misleading information either, or that is every person who contravenes any provisions of this bylaw is guilty of an offense and pursuant to Section 429 Municipal Act, and all contraventions of this bylaw are designated as continuing offenses. Which brings us to the next point. 3.7.2. Every corporation of which Commissions Worldwide Inc. is, and the City of Waterloo is, every corporation who is convicted of an offense is liable to a maximum fine of $50,000 for the first offense and $100,000 for a subsequent offense. So that means for the first offense of the there's 4 properties involved here. Technically that means $50,000 maximum fine for the first offense, so the first property would be $50,000. And he could have up to $100,000 for the other 3 properties, because each property is an individual offense under designated as continuing offenses. That just covers for the rental license bylaw. Then there's another offense for the property standards bylaw. So right now on 4 properties, at the very least, even if you gave a maximum fine of $50,000 on each, that is $200,000 in fines for the 4 properties. 13.73, in addition to the fine amounts, so in addition to the fine amounts set out in sections 13.7.2 and 13.7.3, for each day or part of a day that an offense continues, the minimum fine shall be $500 and the maximum fine shall be $10,000. The total of all daily fines for the offense is not limited to $100,000. Now, the reason why they mention that is because in most of the Municipal Act and stuff like that, it states that a maximum fine would be, total maximum would be limited at $100,000. But this is one case where that is not applied. So we are talking 87 days as of today in where it hasn't been satisfied. 87 times 500 is like almost $30,000. And if the maximum fine is $10,000, that's a day. And it's not limited to $100,000. And you're talking 4 properties, plus permits, plus fines, all of which he has had a free pass on. Because Shane Turner, as a person, is breaking the law. Because the City of Waterloo, as a person, is breaking the law and allowing Shane Turner to do it. We have given every opportunity for the city and the region to do the right thing. They have been more than properly notified. We have actually even sent legal notification. The new property management company. Sorry, I'm going to turn this around. We have a new property management company called Atlas Property Group. Go and search their property group. The only thing they do is they take houses and they break them up into individual rooms and they rent them at $500 or $600 a room. So that's why, like I said, they've got it slated already. They are supposed to follow the law just like the landlord, just like the city, just like us. They are ignoring they ignored everything. They ignored the tenants association. The landlord-tenant ignored the tenant association. Everybody's ignoring it when they are required to acknowledge it. We had to do that in order to protect ourselves. They're just not doing it. We do not deserve answers, and they're just not doing it. And they're just not enforcing the order when they are not allowed to not enforce it. So again, here's what we want. You know, I think what we should do is have Karen Redmond, you need to enforce this order. Regional Rep Jaworski, you need to make sure this order is enforced. And to the full extent of the law, including penalty. You need to recognize this for what it is and acknowledge your responsibility in it and cease any and all action towards eviction. Because again, if the rent was unlawful for 2 years, that's over $22,000 in unlawful rent the landlord has already received. And if it's unlawful, that's like saying, well, it's unlawful to remove money from a bank, but you go in a bank and try and take the money out and see what happens. Equality under the law? I dare you. Let's see it. Because, like I said, in effect, they have stopped our due process. They have shut out our ability to defend ourselves by having stopgap measures in every aspect of this legal system run by the Law Society of Upper Canada. And let me remind you, I was in a disability court for 2 years, represented by a lawyer, when I was let go from that lawyer for no reason other than I kept on pushing the truth and they didn't want any part of it. There was other lawyers coming fresh out of law school who were not even made aware that I had an ability to record because of my disability and the nature of my disability. Even when explaining it to them, they got up and walked out like I had no right. And they had the right to just go, you know what, I don't even have to listen to this and I'm just not going to get involved. And that's the legal system in Canada. And Mr. Trudeau, like I said, everything to do with security of person. Matter of fact, this goes out to every single candidate. Everything to do with security of person, education, employment, healthcare, legal representation, pension, which is part of healthcare and that too. You know, every aspect, housing, in every aspect, it's run by quasi-judicial tribunal, which is not applicable to the law because, again, here's landlord, tenant, and all these other people just ignoring the law. Notwithstanding. It's a legal term. It means you don't have standing. Ask any native, any person that they want to persecute, they label you and they treat you notwithstanding. I walked into an employer back in 2004. And again, there's a pattern here. The employer was allowed to operate. You cannot even open your doors legally without a full health and safety policy. Yet this employer was allowed to operate. And I say allowed because there's no other explanation for it. While doubling the accident rate every year. And that's for just people who reported it. A lot of accidents went in out of there that were unreported. And again, temporary services being utilized, where they don't even mark the employer as a person who got the injuries. It's all to hide the truth. The same with these property management companies. They're all abusing the law. It's just another layer of going, well, because again, here we have a legal situation where there is an order outstanding. They were properly and duly notified. They took over officially as of October 1st. Nobody's taken any steps to assess this property, to do anything to justify doing the order, because as far as they're concerned, they don't have to. They got their residential license. They got their eviction. We're going to get out of here. They're going to have 6 new people move in like there's nothing going on here, and they're going to get $600 a room, and it's going to go from $1,200 a month to $3,600 a month. And Carrie's now moving because she doesn't feel safe there. You know, she left for a couple days. They come in without her permission when we set aside, as the tenant association, time for them to come in. And instead they come in, they go, well, we're going to come in between 4:30 in the morning, whenever we damn feel like. They went in, they ignored all of it. Because notwithstanding. Well, it's time to return the favor. Notwithstanding. Mark your ballot. And I'm going to be bringing out information, Gardis Chager, Catherine Fife, any representative, doesn't matter which level of government, doesn't matter which party, they all do the same thing. If you have a legitimate complaint, especially if you're a person with a disability where I can just press play and show you that it's happening, they shut you down. They call it a legal issue. Yeah, Bardish, it is a legal issue. I'm being denied my rights, and I can't get anybody to help to tell the truth about it, and I'm a prisoner in my own country. because my country and the people running it are criminal. Working for a crown that's criminal. It's time to end this colonialism, notwithstanding. God says, and everybody says, golden rule. Hey, you want the golden rule? Treat other people the way you want to be treated. Well, what better way to treat them than in the same way they treat other people? Notwithstanding. I ask people, if you're going to pick none of the above, that none of these candidates are doing it for you, and if you agree with me with the assessment that this is where everything's going and nobody's taking responsibility, everybody's pointing fingers at blame without taking responsibility or acknowledging the responsibility. You know, if that's the way you want it, then we need to send a clear message to these people, because even if it ends up spoiling the election, if we get enough people, and I invite all my Native brothers and sisters, the ones who also have been persecuted, every disabled person, go and vote. And you mark the ballot notwithstanding. And then we find out how many people did notwithstanding, because that's going to send a clear message to every politician, every party, and most of all, the crown. And we may not be able to make a big impact this election, but by the next election cycle or the election cycle after that, it becomes a referendum to say it's time that colonialism is dead. Put on the ash heap of history where it belongs, and we all share in the building of our nation equally. We all reap the benefits. Not a guaranteed income handout welfare thing. It's called your fair share. And a mortgage becomes something more than just a Chinese finger trap that keeps you in the, again, region of Waterloo. Who undermined your ability to make decisions? Who started all this growth? Through the region. Amalgamation is here. This is it. You got Dave Jaworski as a regional rep and the mayor, and he can't answer a simple question, and Doug Ford, the ugly Ford, or anybody can't answer a simple question about who's responsible and what's minimum code when it's right there in black and white. Nobody's doing it, especially landlord-tenant. Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. It's time we do a class action maybe, eh? Something's got to give. Anyway, the first things first. We need to stop this injustice. We need to get this landlord and this corporation to pay their fair share and to do what they're required to under the law, because they get a free pass. And if they get away with this, like I said, 2 houses, he's going to triple his rent. That's going to bring more taxes in for the business, eh? It's just business as usual. Don't worry. It's just business. Anyway, let's just say Property Standards Committee, Part 14, says what a property committee is. They have the same powers, blah, blah, blah. You can read that if you want. Effect, Part 15, severability. Basically, 15.11, if a court of competent jurisdiction should declare any section or part of a section of this bylaw to be invalid, such section or part of the section shall not be construed as having persuaded or influenced council to pass the remainder of this bylaw, and it is hereby declared that the remainder of this bylaw shall be valid and remain in full force and effect. Short title, 15.2.1, this bylaw may be referred to as a property standards bylaw. 15.3, repeal. 15.3.1, bylaw 201 or 2010-095 of the city, as well as amendments hereto, is hereby repealed. 15.3.2, all orders pursuant to bylaw 2010-095 shall remain in full force and effect, notwithstanding that bylaw 210-095 is hereby repealed, and all such orders may be enforced or acted upon by the city if the order was made under section 13.2 of this bylaw. 15.4, coming into force. 15.4.1, this bylaw shall come into force and effect January 1st, 2012, passed the 7th day of November 2011. So this was signed by Jeff Henry, acting mayor for Mayor Halloran, and S. Greatrix, or whatever, city clerk. It was also approved by Jim somebody or other. Legal was E. Davis, it looks like, or Davies, and financial, not applicable, but it's all initialed off. So again, this has been in full force and effect since January 1st, 2012. Property standards, very clear. Sorry. We're at 59 minutes. So again, this is it. property maintenance plan, parking plans are not accurate, floor plans not accurate. They're not compliant with any part of the act. Sorry, they're not compliant with any part of the act. Here's something. Here's the last piece of the stuff. Again, let me just show you. Timeline-wise, again, it was the letter was sent to him where he's not supposed to collect rent on that. Then the letter was sent to us doing inspections, which we cooperated fully with. Then next was he put in his applications on January 31st. This is the document. Let me see if I can get up there. This is Exhibit 10 that was given. And again, this is fully supported and documented, handed to the Landlord-Tenant Board. This is an exhibit there. And this is a folder summary for folder number 190043349LH. What that is that becomes the actual license number, because LH stands for licensed housing. LH, rental housing license. February 11th input date. Class D, Class 2. Current status new. 100 Marshall Street, Unit A. Paid $500 for Class A 4-bedroom. Then $100 incomplete for Class D, Class 2. So balance is $100. It was paid by Theo Papadopoulos, 2011987 Ontario Inc., which is the other number because the letter was sent to 2576514 Ontario Inc., because that is the company under Theo Papadopoulos, Commissions Worldwide, that owns all properties ending in letter B. Every property that it ends in the letter A is run by 2011987 Ontario Inc. So that's who we made our checks out to, Commissions Worldwide Inc. Okay. But the important thing of this is, sorry, I gotta turn the page. Actually, maybe I could do it this way, that way I can pull it up. Sorry, my hands are getting tired too. So, again, February 11th, housing license. Zoning certification, Frederick Van Royen, February 11th. Completed date, February 28th. So the notes say February 28th, 2019. Case to be changed to D2 as there are 5 bedrooms. Property sold in 2017. New owner should be eligible to continue lodging house. So again, property sold in 2017. Do you see that? They were aware of it. No license. And it says investigating. March 1st, 2019, owner indicating that only 4 bedrooms are being rented, hence A4 applied for, revised main floor provided, former bedroom on number 2, original admission to be used as office storage. So that says March 1st they were notified that, but that's probably, maybe, I'm not going to circumvent, or second guess. This is February 11th, and that's the date that they said they gave him the license. If you go to the database, it says the license was granted February 11th. Now here's the important one again too. This is for 610 fire audit, fire prevention, scheduled date February 11th, 2019. Completion date is not done and it's open. That inspection took place May 29th or 30th. That's the one that he failed. Okay, but they had already granted him a license February 11th without a fire inspection. But it says that it guarantees a fire inspection. And this is also what happened with 98B, because 98B had the same thing happen on February 11th, was granted a license without a fire inspection. We know where that ended up. Corporate documents were submitted by Henry Montoya, so he's the one who checked them, and they were submitted and they passed. So everything was passed except for the fire. And here we have the final page, February 11th, 100 Marshall Street, Unit A. Ownership, approved, submitted. You see it says result, approved, current status, closed. Completed date, February 13th. He was scheduled, the scheduled date is when they were scheduled to get their license. Obviously, because that's the date that correlates with the database that says they received it February 11th. So that means he got the February 11th sight unseen for all properties. That's why when we started raising the issue, they started going, uh-oh. Here is the fire inspection, the copy of the fire inspection. These documents will be available, will be made available. Fire inspection dated May 30th, 2019. It failed. It was carried out by Teskey, I think his name is. Teskey, which is the same guy who does it. And again, May 30th, 2019. Waterloo Regional Police Badge 1448 and 2 additional Waterloo Regional Police Services granted access. Chris not home. So they brought 3 officers. This is what you're going to see at the first electrical inspection, or fire inspection, sorry. They brought 3 officers with them, and the only time they bring officers is when we're being belligerent, when we're preventing them from coming in. So there was no need to bring them. They're asking for overtime all the time. Again, because of my knowledge and knowing that what their tactics were, we removed ourselves from the situation. So we took a proactive stance, and again, every single time they get caught, because they don't have the liaise. I mean, mental health services and that are there. It's available. They choose not to bring them because it's provocation, deliberate. Again, this is the order. This is the order that's outstanding. This is the order that he owes $500 a day since July 15, 2019. Minimum. Maximum $10,000 a day fine. This will be available on the website. Or, I mean, on the YouTube. It's already available, but I'm going to make it again. Here is the 22 infractions that are outstanding. And including 98B, and they didn't even assess 98B. That's the company that was served that owes $500 a day and is responsible for our, private enjoyment getting taken away and torment. So that's City of Waterloo. This is a copy of the rental license, again, June 19th. I don't know if you can see that. It's hard to see. June 19th. Failure to post a permit card is an offense under the Residential Licensing Bylaw 2011047. And there's the license number, 2019004-349. Where's that paper? (2019004-349). Licensing housing. 2019004-349. That is the license that he got. When you see the one for February 11th, it's the same number. He was granted that license. We believe that the reason why they did this one is because they got caught. They had to antedate it for after the order, but again, based on the law, it's invalid. It was invalid then, it's invalid now. As long as that order is outstanding, there is no residential rental license, or as they call it, where's the term again? Actually, I'm going to go like this until I find it, because that's kind of distracting. I think it's actually I passed. It's going back this way. Certificate of compliance, right? Yeah, I went back too far. It's heritage properties, fire enforcement, orders, appeals, failure to comply. Certificate of compliance. Here we are. 13.5. A property standards officer who, after inspecting a property, is of the opinion that the property is in compliance with the standards established by this bylaw may issue a certificate of compliance to an owner who requests one or pays the applicable fee. This is a certificate of compliance. This is a permit to occupy a legally represented lawful tenancy, which meets the minimum standards. So it's clear. Okay, anyway, that's enough for this one. Although, actually, like I said, here's the papers again too on corporate profile. Like I said, 2011987 is the one who owns A's. That's the corporate documents. And B units are owned by two 257-6514, but they are all Theo Papadopoulos. One is Theo Papadopoulos and Eugene Simnos, which is this one. B is owned by Theo and Eugene only. And A is owned by Tiemi, Theo, and Eugene. So Tiemi Papadopoulos, I believe, is Theo's dad, and Eugene Simnos. It's a three-way on the A's and two A's on the B. So anyway, that's what we have for you right now. Again, I'm gonna put up the, I'm gonna finish this one. This is gonna be one video, or I might actually no. I think I'm gonna split it into three videos. Yeah, this will be part 2. Part 3 will be, like I said, the initial phone call, so you can hear how it all started and how they've turned it into this melodrama of deny, deflect, obstruct, and obliterate your rights. There are no human rights in Ontario. There are no human rights. They are not practicing it at the government level on any degree. They believe, if you go to my YouTube page, there's actually 4 or 5 part series on Accessibility Ontarians with Disabilities Act. That was their presentation that they give everybody, generally, to say that, oh, well, you're trained now. You know how to deal with disabled people. I'm going to put up a series of contact videos that show what is really done. And I'm also going to post the evidence from the trial. I'm going to show you, like they say, go and seek help from this. So when I do the introduce myself, I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to put the bottom on it to show what they do, what they've been doing, their campaign of intimidation and criminalization and abuse and deliberately using disability against the person, and I'm not the only one. And I invite anybody who's disabled or helping the person with a disability who has a similar story, I would like you to try and do the same thing. Find the courage to record it, post it to YouTube, and then once you post it to YouTube, go to my page and go on the comment section and give a short description, and then a link, please, because we should start linking these all together and join a group to tell our stories, because this needs to stop, and the only way it's going to stop is by telling the truth. And caregivers especially, you know, we are not, the one thing I do know more than anything else is we are not the only ones. Anybody who has been misrepresented and destroyed by landlord-tenant board, anybody who has had to deal with bed bugs and stuff like that. Everybody's got a story, because again, they are not allowed to rent it if it's got vermin. That's building code and these bylaws, and I invite you to look at the rest of the rental license bylaw too, because again, that applies as well. We also need him to be charged or fined under the rental license, residential rental license bylaw 2011047. Especially for not hanging the licenses. I mean, they're playing with people's lives here and safety as a whim. This has to stop. Either way, at the end of this, it stops for me one way or the other. I'm either going to get, hopefully, some justice or 3 to the chest, 2 or 3 to the chest, because you better bring a body bag. That's all I got to say. My journey ends here one way or the other. I am standing right here, and I'm not going anywhere. Feet first. Dare you. Go ahead and evict me. I dare you. You did it the last time. You're not doing it again. And I'm going to show the public what happened the last time. I'm going to show the public the cover-up. I'm going to release the parts of the transcript where the officer's saying that they're not properly trained. I'm going to start releasing the contact videos of what happened at 63 Cortland when Denise was allowed to be assaulted by the landlord there. Matter of fact, it's interesting and ironic because this is the anniversary of his death. He died, I think it was 2017 or 2018, on October 10th. Kind of ironic. You know, I don't celebrate it. I don't celebrate pain for anybody, but you know what? I'm of the opinion that he got what he deserved. I hope he did, because he did work very hard, as did Christina. Anyway, Time to reveal the truth. And Trudeau, you know, you might deny it, but you know, in Canada, most of it's Trudeau, eh? But it's not all Trudeau. So it's all the Crown. Colonialism must end. Notwithstanding. Anyway, I'm doing a press release. We're going to challenge Mayor Dave Jaworski, Representative Dave Jaworski. Hey, Dave, come on out and answer some questions. Have you seen this guy? He's hiding. He's hiding. Dave, you got some explaining to do. Karen Redmond, hey, you know, maybe you can do a follow-up to that email and tell us your scientific opinion of and legal opinion of how much you think you're going to get sued for. Anyway, like I said, any of you have a problem with any of this, leave your resume on the desk. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. Have a nice day. I'm going to. One way or the other, I'm going to be dead soon. They practically killed me now. My spirit's almost done. Hopefully people give a shit. I don't think so. Anyway, have a nice day. I hope all is well with you and yours. Be well. Try and stay safe. That's all you can do is try. Thank you. So this will be the end of part 2. I'm gonna do a 3-part series. So please stay tuned. Please help each other. Help us help ourselves. Okay? And most of all, if you are tired of this crap and you want to send a clear message, what better message to send than notwithstanding? You say you want to defer your ballot, or whatever they call that, and instead of going none of the above, you put notwithstanding on the ballot, and you make sure they write it down as notwithstanding, because then we can have them count up all the people that are going notwithstanding. In other words, we're not standing for this anymore. Canada is not a Chinese finger trap to be able to use indentured servitude of you signing up for a mortgage to find out that that's just a chain to their, and again, mostly the region, doing these deals like RIM, like allowing these the growth, municipal growth. When everybody voted for it to be slowed down, all of a sudden municipal board comes in and goes, nah, we're going to do what we want. Highway 7, same thing. Because they push forward the agenda of the colonial court. Regional government stands for regal. You know, and the Crown in our lifetime did a lot to get rid of HMS, Her Majesty's Service. Even though Tri-Services is still all royalty. We are being lied to. You are being manipulated. It is called behavior modification. And just one last piece of advice or closing opinion of mine. You know, people like say, again, you go to school, it's behavior modification because you're told to get in line, to stand in line, to be in the right line, to become the line, to hold yourself to the line, and it holds everybody back in place because it's behavior modification, which is reinforced by this stuff with Facebook and social stuff. You know, it's ridiculous. People need to get with reality again. You're living in your heads too much. Anyway, here it is. What race are you? And why every leader is not talking like this should alarm everybody, because the only answer to that question is one. What race am I? I am human. It's called the human race. As a matter of fact, there is no race because everybody's rushing to get everywhere. It's not a race. You should be humans being. And the way to be is to let people be. And if you're, you know, there's social mores, decorum and stuff. You know, if you're not harming anybody, then there's different lines drawn. If you know where your element of danger is, you have another region over there where you might, you know, have a little bit more danger. You choose to go there, that's where you go. You know what you're getting into, you're a big person or whatever, fine. Go be that. You want to be the person who steps 3 paces behind her husband with a doily on her head, you go right ahead. Go do that. Go be whatever you want to be. We don't have a right to judge each other unless it comes to harming other people. And when it comes to whoever's God is right, well, guess what? Live your life the way you want to, and when you get to the end of your life, your God will either save you or he won't. You know, that's your choice. It's called free will, as long as you're not harming anybody else. What's the problem?
because by them dividing everybody, saying black, brown, opaque, olive complexion, which are all just different colors. We are human beings. Those distinctions of black, white, red, brown, green, purple, pink polka dots came from a colonial system that was getting value for the different people. Again, lines drawn, division. It's not about division. It's called we are one. We are a human race. The young people know it. And you guys, you know what? If you want Ronald McDonald to be the head of the world, he would be if you all voted for him. Just by sheer numbers. So what kind of world do you want? Simple. Do you want to keep working for a crown that doesn't support anything but itself? Or would you rather work towards the well-being of every single legal citizen of that country? Because it's simple. Notwithstanding for the crown means every single edict, contract, or whatever that mentions the crown gets changed for beneficiary of the crown to every legal citizen of that country, including the crown. But they only get their share, their equal share like everybody else, right? Anyway, it's something we can think about, something we can do. We just have to go for it. Anyway, notwithstanding, time to treat them the same way, because I haven't treated notwithstanding. And Trudeau, I'm coming after you. I'm coming after every one of those leaders, because every single thing to do with security of person is a joke. It's run by tribunal, and they're about to send pension, all-day security pension there. And by the way, speaking of pensions, these factories that are allowed to shut down, you realize that pension used to be we paid 1/3 and the government was responsible to pay the other 2/3. And by shutting down companies, allowing them to take the pensions with them, guess what? The government's getting off that 2/3 commitment. So there is a vested interest in government and colonial governments to shut down pensions from the past and allow companies to go bankrupt and allow them to pay their CEOs and the top management while they stiff the hard-working people who gave up concessions every time. Anyway, you know what it's like. We're not alone. We're not the only ones who are being treated notwithstanding. So anyway, let's return the favor, shall we? It's time the Queen get a toilet brush and a good job. Okay? The rest of you too. Okay. Have a nice day. God bless. Some issues.